Welcome to Conflict Managed. I'm your host, Mary Brown. Conflict Managed is a weekly podcast about toxic work environments and how to fix them. We're glad you're here. Good morning, Grant, and welcome to Conflict Managed.
Good morning, Mary. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you on too, and I'm very interested in what you're doing right now, the role you have as president of Thryv, and what that is and how it helps small businesses. But before we get into that, I would like to hear about the first job you ever had as a young person.
My first job as a young person was working at a Tommy Hilfiger retail location, one of only 7 specialty locations that were in the country at that point, dating myself a little bit, aging myself. Um, it was a really good deal for them because everything they paid me, I reinvested in the clothing that very paycheck. And so they were very smart to hire young people that would wear their clothes because I'm pretty sure I worked for free.
What was that, thinking back, what was that experience like with the management and with your fellow coworkers?
I'll tell you, I think one thing that I think helped me overcome the adversity that you face, like obviously there was a manager I didn't really like. I was working with new people that I didn't know, and I was asked to do things that I had never done before, like sell clothing or God forbid fold clothing as well, which I still do impeccably to this day. Yeah, I think being a team sport person really helped me adjust.
Mhm.
I think that's something that helps a lot of people adjust to overcome adversity. And it doesn't have to be sports. It can be theater. It can be
Mhm.
part of a chorus, etc. Um, but it was a great experience. I mean, it teaches you that you have to do things when you don't want to do them. And, sometimes you just have to, listen to authority and just get the job done, even if you're not in the mood. So I think there's a lot of discipline that I learned there. I did learn retail is not for me. I love people and I could talk to people all day, but retail's tough. It's a
Yeah.
tough gig.
Yeah.
Well,
Those first jobs are so helpful for a variety of things. They tell us what we like, what we don't
right.
like. As you said, the whole facet of work, because a lot of times, even when people say follow your passion or do your dream work,
Yeah.
that's also got take out the trash is in there as well. So it's not all roses. Even if you're doing the thing that you love, we've got all the other stuff to keep the lights on.
And Mary, I couldn't agree more. My entire adult career has been spent serving small businesses. So when you talk about people following their dreams and trying to achieve their hopes, their aspirations, but that it's not always fun at all, and they're all these amazing, I've such passion and respect for small business owners because they are like the CEO, the CMO, the CIO, the CTO all at once. And yes, they're doing what they love, but boy, do you learn that lesson quickly that it's not all sunshine and rainbows all the time. I agree with you totally.
Yeah. So, well, what team sport did you play?
I played soccer. I'm a
Okay.
soccer player. Yeah, yeah. I was playing up until a few years ago when, getting old, man, the knee doesn't like it anymore. The knee definitely doesn't like it.
So tell us what you went to college for. What did you major in?
I majored in marketing at Penn State University. Yeah.
And why marketing?
I didn't know what else to major in. And it seemed like something that was fun to do, you
Hmm.
know? And I did learn a lot from it. Upon graduation, I went into sales, and I think there's obviously a direct and linear correlation between the two. And upon reflection, I do wish that there was almost like a sales major at universities because there's so many salespeople, and it's such a fantastic profession. But I think the closest thing to it still to this day is marketing.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. So what about your first professional job? What was that and what was it like?
It was awesome. It was awesome. I'm so glad that you asked. So I graduated from Penn State University and I got a job working for the phone book company called Yellow Book, right? So Yellow Book was a big competitor to sort of the regional Bell operating companies. It was an independent publisher that was just in a few states back in 2000 when I graduated and started work. That's right, 2000 with emphasis. Um, and I was an outside SDR walking up and down the streets trying to sell space in a phone book, a prototype phone book south of Pittsburgh in the Mon Valley, getting my teeth kicked in and day out, walking the streets, walking into doors uninvited, and trying to cold call and sell something. Um, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. If you want to learn, if you have what it takes to make it, to overcome adversity, to totally get up in the morning and do something that's hard, you know, I mean, cold calling up and down the streets, it was really, really tough. I wasn't very good at it at first. I almost got fired after 8 weeks. I hadn't made a sale yet, but persevered and found some great coaching and was willing to
Mhm.
learn and willing to listen. And from there, it kind of changed the trajectory in that job and all future jobs. But I'll tell you what, my dad, man, he was like so disappointed. He's like, "Well, you went to university for 4 years and you're selling phone books? Like, you did not need to go to college." And I was like, "Dad, I sell advertising space in phone books. The phone books are free, you know?" So anyway, long story short, that was my first gig. And man, I love it. I ended up staying there, my almost my whole career until 10 years ago. I just worked my way all the way up the ranks. So sort of like the mailroom guy story. I came in making $12,000 a year. And that same management team that hired me all the way back then, that's the same management team here. So like my boss is the only person I've technically ever really worked for. Obviously, I didn't know him well when I was an SDR, but 25 years. And we've served small businesses, whether it was Yellow Pages or digital advertising and now software. All
Wow.
of which, though, has always been to help small businesses do what they perceive they need most, which is grow, which is exciting to watch somebody grow and realize their goals. It's so, so rewarding. Selfishly, it's very rewarding to watch them achieve.
What an amazing story. Oh my word. As you were talking, I was thinking you got your master's degree in that 8 weeks, talk
So,
about, yeah,
yes.
learning on, on the ground, tenacity, getting
Yeah.
up in the morning. I can only imagine what it was like week 7, it's like,
It,
again.
nerve-wracking because the only thing that would have been worse to my dad would have been getting fired from the phone book job, right? So yeah, so I pulled it out, Mary. I pulled it out. Yeah.
And you said something really interesting, a couple of things, coaching and being
Yeah,
coachable. So
totally.
you had to have people who saw something in you that
Yep.
they're willing to invest in you, but then you were willing to take it even after 8 weeks of failure. So being on I would imagine, a rather demoralized state,
Yep.
but getting that help and then embracing it. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I just wish I was smart enough to have taken it earlier because it was always there being offered. And 21 years old, Mary, know everything. I'm gonna go this, I'm gonna be the best salesperson ever. I've got a great personality. And you learn that it's about so much more. And I think that sometimes it takes getting really low, like rock bottom, graduated from school, 7 weeks in, about to get fired from his first job, to say, okay, idiot, listen to the people around you that are successful. They actually want to help you. I think they kind of like you and they'd like it if you weren't fired. So just embrace it and accept the help. And it was such an important life lesson. I think my boss would tell you now and others here that I am still to this day extremely coachable. And I just love to surround myself with people that are better than me, that are smarter than me, that are faster than me, and just absorb, absorb, absorb. And I think that's been that lesson that you just pointed out has been instrumental to me making it to where I am today because I am nothing more and nothing less than a byproduct of the people that I accepted help and advice and guidance from.
I love that saying, accept the help.
Yeah,
And so many times, as physician, heal thyself, we can say that to others, but when it comes
yeah,
to us, um, we don't. And it's a
no,
variety of reasons.
that's
Sometimes
right.
pride, a lot of times fear.
Yeah,
Um, so in your position now, as president of Thrive, how do you see the lessons that you learned in that first job, when you look at the people that work in your organization, how you see those correlations?
yeah, so I think I think I've developed over the years a really healthy EQ. I think that's what people would say about me as well. And I think all of those trials and tribulations really help me approach situations with a high level of empathy and the ability to understand somebody else's position before I try to just solve or help, but really listen, and empathize and know that everybody's going through something, everybody has something that they're dealing with, right? And and I think that hopefully people feel, I think they do, helps me be a good people manager. and helps us, have a really healthy culture here at Thrive, where it's one of openness, one of accepting help, one of being willing to ask for help because they feel safe. And I think a lot of that, I don't have the highest IQ at all. There's a lot of smarter people than me. I promise you that. You've probably realized that already. But I do think that I've worked really hard on what I could develop, which was EQ. And I actually think it's probably more critical to success than IQ is the ability to empathize with people, understand people, embrace people, help people, and get along with people, quite frankly. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's important.
absolutely. Yeah, and that is something, the good news is that we can grow in that. And so
Yeah.
insofar as we realize that we need some help and we all are people on the way, hopefully that we're all developing, that is something that we can look at and intentionally grow
Yeah.
in our people skills and how we relate to one another.
Absolutely. And I think that it's also important to treat people as individuals. We have over 2,500 people here that I'm responsible for, and each person that I interact with, I seek to understand them and I treat them accordingly. People like to be treated in different ways. I don't think that you can try to manage everybody the same way. I think you really, if you want to have success and have a healthy environment, I think you have to manage to the individual. And again, that comes through, I hate to repeat myself, but empathy is
Mhm.
really, really powerful to have and to understand. So I think that's a valuable lesson as well.
Everything you're saying is just music to my ears because I am so what I do conflict because I'm interested in healthy work environments, and I think
Sure.
that people at work are going to have conflict. Conflict isn't the problem. It's unmanaged
Right.
conflict, and they really want a structure and people within their organization who will listen and act, who care, right? And
That's great.
so I think sometimes when people hear empathy, of course, sometimes people hear weakness and they hear
Oh, sure.
um, empathy is not always linked to action. So
Right.
how have you developed to find this path of being empathetic, and still acting for their good and the good of their organization? Because sometimes you have to part ways with people. Sometimes
That's right.
people, the hard realities of work when it's not working out.
Right. I think being very upfront and very direct
Mm.
with an empathetic tone, and I think people appreciate directness, when we've had times where we've had to let people go or part ways because they couldn't quite make it through the transformation that we're going through, which is a very big one. They just like to know ahead of time. I also subscribe to the no surprises. If I have a conversation with you because unfortunately you can't continue in your current capacity, it shouldn't be a surprise.
Mhm.
I should have done a great job in the months previous to that, dropping hints and helping and saying, "Hey, we got to do this better. How can I help?" And we're having conversations about things where we're just not hitting the mark, so that when the time comes where it is time to make it finite and to part ways, nobody should ever be surprised. That's the most gut-wrenching thing that can happen, I think. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
It is the case that not every place is for everybody for a
Yeah.
variety of different reasons, right? And it can have nothing to do with the moral
Yeah.
character of the individual
Right.
or even the intelligence of the individual. Just not
Right.
every place is fit for everybody else. But when the expectations are squishy and
That's
fuzzy
right.
and the communication is not clear and direct, right? Clarity is kindness. People, adults, want to know the lay of the land, the score,
Yes.
what they need to do to meet expectations, to exceed, what the civility standards are, and that there are standards,
That's right.
and what's being rewarded in an organization.
That's right. And I think we give tremendous clarity around that here as well, which leads to a sense of calmness and quite frankly, the ability to be very efficient, to work
Mhm.
very efficiently, because with clarity, I think comes pace,
Mhm.
velocity. You
Mhm.
need clarity to have velocity. I think we found that. The other thing, when it comes to conflict, something that especially in this virtual world, so Mary, we closed all of our offices. So we are a 2,500 person company in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the United States where everybody works from home.
Wow.
Everybody, right?
Mhm.
So there's good and bad. Our employees love it by and large because they have more of a work-life balance. They can pick up their kids at school and then get back to it later. You're not losing like 2 hours in commutes and stuff. But I've seen conflict, right? Conflict can be tougher in that environment. And the number one thing that I've found that we have to eradicate in conflict resolution is hiding behind email.
Mhm.
So this digital emailing back and forth. You've probably seen it. It ramps, and there's more emotion. And a lot of it comes from a lack of understanding, no empathy in the written word in
Yeah.
email. Everything's misconstrued. So when it comes to conflict, one of the things that myself and the rest of the team really pride ourselves on is we pick up the phone. We Zoom, we Teams, we call on a cell phone, we FaceTime. It's so much easier to be empathetic and to understand one another when you realize that this is another person.
Yeah.
See, in email, you lose that. And it's just words and "Oh, I'll get you," or "I'm going to one up that one," or "What did that mean?" And you seem to always hear it the wrong way, more negative. You err on the side of it was negative and nasty, and that just seems to go away. The
Yeah.
amount of like how people treat each other during a conflict and during the resolution of said conflict is so much better if you just pick up the phone
Mhm.
or, Zoom bomb somebody, as I say, just pop up on their screen and realize that we may not be in an office, but we're still people and we still
Mhm.
should interact that way. So
Mhm.
maybe more than you wanted to hear on that, but that's really big to me is that like I think email and only communicating via the written word leads to a lot of conflict.
Absolutely. And for all the reasons you said, there's all these ways in which we can miscommunicate. And
Yeah.
if somebody's already causing me some kind of pain, I am more likely to, because I'm in this more self-preservation mode, right?
Yes,
As soon as I think you're not for me or there's something going awry, I'm now more protectionist. And
that's right.
I guess I think all of us, like, how can we catch ourselves sooner? As soon as
Yeah.
I start seeing myself escalate, how do I pick up that phone? How do I zoom in on that person so that I don't respond, or I don't react? I
Yeah.
respond, right? I respond
Yeah.
with my values because we're for each other, right?
Yeah.
We're not against each other. We're for each other.
110%. I think it starts with when you do receive an email, before you respond, take a breath.
Mhm.
I've coached a lot of people on typing out your response and then saving it as a draft and coming back an hour later. And you know what? Almost every time they never send it.
Mhm.
And you just pick up the phone, right? Because I think the other way to answer your question, another way that you know that it's time to pick up the phone is if you read something and you don't feel good about it and you're about to respond, just don't pick up the phone. Pick up the phone, call somebody, ask them what they meant by it. Direct, open conversation. Man, the conflict will be over and done with, and if you're not friendly, you'll respect each other again and just move on. But the back and forth 12 emails, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just it's so non-productive and exhausting emotionally
Yeah.
when it could be done in like a 10-minute phone call, you
That's
know?
right. I say early, often, swiftly, justly. The sooner you get to
Love
it,
that.
then it isn't a thing.
It's
It's
not a thing.
a, hey, what did you mean?
That's right.
And then you
Yes.
can right size it. And
Yes.
it's this one thing. It's so many times in conflict, 'cause I'm also a workplace mediator. And by the time you're in that room, it's not the one thing or the two things. It's the year or years of things. And
That's right.
it's now this other person instead
Yeah.
of this particular problem.
Yeah. Nothing goes away if you ignore it except your teeth. That's what I say. I know that's silly, but like everything only gets worse. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And so you
Hmm.
might as well eat the frog, or just just
Hmm.
just just do it. And it's never, we spend so much time, people do, anxious and assuming the worst of
Hmm.
everything, and 95% of the time it doesn't come true.
Hmm.
It doesn't come true. We manifest these negative outcomes that I think can all again be stopped if you just talk to each other.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you mentioned being really big and interested on clarity. And I
Yes,
think a lot of people, in professional jobs, it's not always so clear. Okay, I know I'm supposed to be doing this thing, but there are a variety of ways to do it. What is my boss looking for? So what are some things, some practical things that maybe other people could do to really help them be clear and the people who report to them be clear on what needs to be happening?
yeah, so I think clarity is derived through constant communication and effective communication. Um, so number one, I think that anybody who's not clear should just ask. Just back to that, instead of assuming or God, am I doing this right or wrong? Just breathe and ask. And your leader, your coach, they'll let you know. They'll let you know if it's not being done right. I like to err on the side of letting people be creative, but explain the problem, explain what I'm looking for as a resolution. And then I think the most important thing where people fall short is I try to take great pride in explaining the why. Why am I asking you to do this? Not just do this, right? Because I think if somebody understands the why behind it, it will also help them solve it far more efficiently and feel more purpose in solving it. Well, I think a lot of people just say, you know what, Mary, do this, this, and this, and have it by Friday. Well, that's not really good. That's not effective communication. The person they should know why they're doing it and what the benefit is going to be and how much this is going to help the organization or the team. And then I think they approach the problem differently. And then if there is a question for how to do it, just ask. Just ask. And if you're in a situation where you're scared to ask your leader, leave.
Hmm.
Leave because there's a better situation. You don't deserve that.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? You shouldn't ever be in a situation where you don't feel like you can ask for help, or ask to be developed. If you're in that situation, I don't mean to say it so flippantly, but
Right.
your emotional state is really important. We spend the majority of our lives at work,
Mhm.
so find at least an environment where you feel comfortable enough to ask for help.
Yeah, I think that's really important information if I feel afraid to ask. What is going on? I mean, there's many, many things, and to spend that time reflecting as to why I feel this way, where is this coming from? And all of this self-reflection can lead to what can I be doing differently? How can I turn the tide here, or can
Yeah,
it be turned?
that's
Like
right.
what's going on with my colleagues or my boss or the institution?
Yes.
So let me ask you this. When people are working from home, there are all of these different ways of managing. And
Sure.
uh, you know, there's a serious problem with micromanaging because when you
Right.
micromanage somebody, you just bleed out and bleach out
Yes,
all their creativity and their
that's right.
humanity. And it's just, so how do you, how do you have all these people working from home
Yeah.
and make sure that they're not micromanaged, but properly managed?
I think it goes back to clarity, right? I have a project that I need you to accomplish by X time and X date. I give you the guidelines for it. I explain the why behind it to just have it done by that date. I mean, if you're doing it at 11 p.m. or 3 a.m., it really doesn't matter to me. I mean, if you get the task done, it's
Mhm.
done. Now, that's easy for like product development and things of that nature, marketing maybe. If you are a client-facing person and you do have to be on the phone during hours, I mean, obviously we can see how many calls people are taking, etc. But I think the guiding rule is don't assume the worst. Don't assume that everybody's cheating you, and don't make rules for the LCD, the lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
Don't make a whole bunch of rules because Betty Sue, you know, lied to us once and took an extra hour, so now everybody has to sign in and sign out. And I mean, I think that overreaction to one
Mhm.
or two infractions, that's a really, really bad thing. I think that we should assume people are doing things right and
Yeah.
properly. And one of the phrases that I use around here that people would tell you is catch your people doing something right, not wrong. Catch them doing something right and write an email. It is so impactful. Don't assume the worst. If somebody messes up once, let it go and catch them doing something right. You'll get a lot more mileage and a happier employee and more productive employee if you celebrate their victories and just go a little easier on shortcomings. I think
Mm.
that's important as well, but definitely not making all these rules because one person got one over on you 3 years ago and now everybody suffers. We should assume the best, assume that most people are inherently good.
Yeah, I love that so much because people tend to rise and fall by the expectations, right? And so
That's right.
if the expectation is I'm just here trying to find all these people who are misbehaving,
Right.
it's just then you're going to get more misbehavior, right? But
That's
if the
right.
positive psychology is when you speak into people and you expect that they're doing good things
Right.
and then you're going to see it and then they're going to see that you're seeing it and then it just encourages. You're going to
That's right.
snowball one way or the other.
You're so right. Well said. Well said. Yeah, it's important.
So when you think about how you have dealt with conflict at work
Mhm.
in your career, can you tell us about a time earlier in your career that you had a conflict and how you dealt with it and how you might deal with it differently now if you would?
Yeah, yeah, of course. So, going back to those formative years where I was the know-it-all, I'm going to be the best salesperson. One of the one of the penalties, if you will, for not selling was I had to check in the morning, check back in at night, sort of that micromanaging thing, which maybe it was deserved because I hadn't sold anything, right? And I wasn't exactly accepting the coaching like we spoke about. Um, and I didn't handle it well at all. I missed a couple just because I was angry and emotionally too immature to say, hey, you kind of brought this on yourself. And I wasn't looking in the mirror. It was their fault, or they're so mean, or I can't believe this job stinks because they're making me work and trying to get me in here to make the calls that I need to so that I can achieve success. I didn't look at it that way, and now I totally would. Like I would understand why you want me to come early and come back late and set myself up for success by ensuring the activity level that would dictate success was inevitable.
Mhm.
And instead, I got really grumpy and really, not nice about it. And like I said, just blew a couple off and made up excuses. And, you learn from all those missteps. And now I like to think that I can help others from making those as well. By again, if there is anything punitive, you explain why. And I
Mhm.
think you have to really show that the reason that you're doing it is actually to help them.
Mhm.
It's actually to get them where they want to be. It's not for me, like
Mhm.
having you come in at five is not for me. It's really for you. And you may not see it that way right now, but as you start ramping your success, I think you'll be grateful that we did this. So I think having those types of conversations, I think people get it then. It's
Yeah.
just nobody wants the gotcha, you
Yeah.
know? So you have to explain the purpose. It's not punitive for punitive's sake. I don't
Mhm.
really, I'm not I want you here at five because I know it hurts your feelings, right? Instead, it's I want you here at five and here's why and here's what's going to happen because of it. So look at this as a positive, right? So long-winded answer to your question. I'm sorry, I have a proclivity to do that. So
No, no, not at all. I mean, it's back to this why. I mean, I absolutely agree. When we think about adults at work, we think about punishing them, like,
yeah,
come on, like we're
right,
not raising our hand to go to the bathroom,
right.
whereas
That's
some
right.
actually places are like people are tethered to there. But when we explain that this is for your good, which is also the good of the business, it's the symbiotic relationship. When you
Yes.
flourish, we flourish, right? And so this is so that you can continue to be, so that you can be successful and you can stay employed here.
That's
And so
right.
I think, also when we think about micromanaging, so to speak, it makes sense that people have different levels of freedom given their skill level,
Yeah.
given their background. And when you have a new person and they don't know, they haven't been onboarded, they're not given this training. I mean, what are you going to expect? And then when you have somebody who is just clamped down on, and so there are these variety of sweet spots, as you said in the
Yeah.
beginning, it's not one size fits all either.
No.
We're all individuals, but we bring different things to the table, so we need different levels of oversight, freedom, creativity.
Totally agree. Totally agree with everything that you just said. And I also think when I hear micromanaging, at least in my frame of reference now in my position, it's managing to small details that don't matter just
Mm.
for the sake of doing it and showing that you're boss or that you're going to make sure they're productive. So I'd rather talk about, putting parameters in place, which you have to achieve. But again, why are we doing it and how's it going to help you? And I do believe, again, most people are good people. So you have a project or you have numbers that you have to hit as a salesperson. Here's what they are. Here's why we believe you can achieve it. Here's all the support you could possibly imagine. However many hours you need to work in a day, just achieve them. If you
Mhm.
want to work at night, do it. So I think there's flexibility with that, which is really, really healthy as well. Back to the point of everybody works differently. You have night owls, you have early morning people, but if people clearly understand what they need to deliver and the time frame that they have to deliver it, I think most people will do whatever they can to make you happy and to achieve that goal for themselves too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm interested in, so you've got leadership, right? So you have this particular philosophy of how to lead people and how to have a healthy work environment. And so sometimes when you're in the C-suite and you have this leadership ideology, and then, I mean, you said 2,500 people working, right? That's a lot. So you're going to have these different layers, right?
Totally.
How how in your organization do those middle managers who are closest to the body of people working for you, how did they get trained and supported in this philosophy of treating people excellently at work?
Absolutely. So that we have a lot, it doesn't just happen by accident. That's what I always say, and you have to find people that share in your beliefs of the importance of empathy and also look for people that are willing to develop their EQ. And we do that through isolating people that have a desire to go into management pretty early on. We have a mentor academy, and then once you graduate from that, we give you somebody to mentor. So it's like a one-on-one, somebody new, you're helping them onboard them, helping them understand the culture and the expectations. So that's sort of your first entree into leadership. And then we have a leadership academy, which goes more into managing multiple people. And so we have a very purposeful and intentful sort of system design to build the leaders of tomorrow so that when they do take control of a team, we're pretty darn sure that they're going to lead in a way that we would like them to. We don't just, the worst thing you can do is say, hey, Mary, guess what? You're a leader now. Cool. Here's your team. Good luck, right? So we have it's months and months and months of coaching before you would get your first team. And I think that's really important. It also shows the people going through it um, how worthwhile this is and how big of a deal it is because you're investing so much, so many, pardon me, resources as an organization in their development as a leader. And then I think again, most people being great people, they want to pay you back by doing an excellent job and by embracing what they're taught and exemplifying what they're taught when they do get the opportunity to lead people. So I hope that answers the question.
Yes, Grant, when you're explaining this, it sounds so, well, of course, this is what you would do. And my
Yeah,
experience is that what you're explaining does not happen very often.
sure.
So so tell me about how Thryv came up with this idea and how long has it been a part of the ethos of your organization?
Well, we have the benefit of being a very old organization. I mean that, the benefit. So there's a lot of startups where you don't have a lot of what I'll call gray hairs, like me going gray, right? Who have been there and done that and seen the lowest lows and the highest highs and now are able to really analyze it, reflect, and stay more even keel. I think that we have a lot of gray hairs here. We have a lot of people with a company that's over 100 years old at its roots. We have people that have done all sorts of stuff, and who have succeeded and who have failed along the way. And I think that that's enabled us to build these programs, to understand what good looks like and what bad looks like. And I think that we have a very, very powerful gift, and that's the gift of perspective.
Mhm.
Until you have perspective, it's really hard to build any program like we just spoke about. You need to understand what's really important and what's not that important. So I think we have the luxury of time and years in business and in leadership now that's enabled us to build a program and then see it through and ensure that it happens. I think it would be much harder if I'm just starting a business or if I'm a startup software company. It's definitely difficult if you haven't failed and succeeded for decades. So I think we have that benefit of perspective.
Hmm. So I just want to ask this last question on this theme. So let's suppose that you are one of your workforce and somebody has a conflict with another colleague or their manager. What is the advice in your organization? What should that person do?
Well, in addition, if they try, I would always try to solve it on their own through open communication, through picking up the phone like we spoke about. But we also have an amazing employee experience department. You know, we are extremely, extremely focused on delivering an exemplary employee experience because we know it's directly correlated to the client experience that we deliver, which is something you astutely pointed out before. The two are completely linked. So because we invest in employee experience, we have EXPs, employee experience partners that people can access and without fear of retribution or just work through what a possible solution would be and then go back and try to resolve again. And honestly, I think one of the things that differentiates us here is we don't have this hierarchical leadership feel. So like people call me on the cell phone, I'm in meetings with frontline employees every day, make random calls just to celebrate people and talk to them. So we have a very in the trenches C-suite team, and I think that helps us lead by example. I think everybody's very accessible, which is a really important word around here. And there's no ivory tower management. I think that does filter through the organization. Getting back to your question, that would mean that the leader that I have conflict with, I probably wouldn't be afraid to just address it with them because I don't look at them as some tyrannical boss that I can't talk to. So situations where people feel like they can't openly communicate, I think would be few and far between, but I think that starts at the top and being accessible, just one of the people, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
that's kind of the way that all of us lead as well here. And then the other thing I'd say is just understanding the pulse or the cultural undercurrent at any given time. So we do employee pulse surveys quarterly. seeking to understand what we're failing at, what we're good at, what people like, what they hate, and then making corrections to that. So if you're a small business, even on a small scale, you got to take the pulse of the organization. Don't assume that you know. Talk to people, interact with people, ask them difficult questions, ask them what you could be doing better. People will tell you, I promise. If they're given the more, they will tell you. So I feel like the information is always all around us. We just have to want to access it, you know?
Mm, yeah.
So I hope that answers the question.
Absolutely. So you work in this large organization, but your focus, the organization is on helping small businesses
Yes. Mhm.
and can be very stressful. And the people, I want to talk about the people piece of
Yeah.
running a small business. So of course, some people are solopreneurs, but many people have run a small
Yeah.
team. Um, what has been your experience with the kinds of conflicts that small organizations face, and what do you see as kind of remedies that you offer or that you suggest?
Sure. So I would say that one of the most difficult things when you're a small business that you simply have to face all the time is time. You simply
Mm,
don't have any. So finding ways that ensure effective and ongoing communication are critical. Most conflict arises because of a lack of communication. We
mm,
know that, right? And oftentimes it's not even a lot of there. It was just poor communication, or you heard it this way and I heard it that way, and we don't talk about it because we think we're too busy. I would
mm,
say you have to set aside time to talk to your employees. I know everything else is going on, and you're the entire C-suite as a small business owner that has, let's say, 3 to 7 employees, which is really like our sweet spot, right? So we know them very well. You have to purposefully set aside time to talk to a couple of the employees every week in like a one-on-one fashion and take that pulse and make sure there's clarity. Ask them if they understand why they're being asked to do what they're doing. Ask them what you could do better. I think that that air of openness and setting time, scheduling time so that urgent doesn't get in the way of important,
mm,
important being communication and understanding and empathizing. I think that's a great way to resolve a conflict before it even arises. Like we should
mm.
try to proactively stop them as much as possible, which I'm not downplaying how hard that can be, but I think it starts with setting aside time to learn and to listen.
Mm. Yes, I absolutely agree. We don't do it because there's a lot of reasons why we don't do these hard things. We know business owners do hard things all the time, but
All the
this is
time.
a different kind of hard.
Yeah,
But it takes, as we all know, it takes a lot less time to get it on the front end. It
it
just
does.
takes so much
And I
less
and I
time.
also wonder, the other thing that I think we often talk to small businesses about is invest in yourself as well.
Mm,
Many of our most successful small business owners, that um, they don't have like psychiatrist degrees. They don't necessarily deal with people all the time like you do or like I do. And we've learned over the years how to do that. Many of them got into business because they loved being a plumber and didn't want to work for somebody else anymore. And I think that investing in themselves, there's so much information accessible. You could talk to Chat GPT for 3 hours about a topic like leadership or effective communication and ask all the questions. And you'd be getting an education worthy of like that which you would receive at Oxford. I
yeah,
mean, so never has there been a time where we've had more free tools available if we just set aside time to invest in ourselves. And I think that would be something that I would share with small business owners. You don't have to go to the library. You don't have to buy a new Encyclopedia Britannica every year. Instead, we have all these digital tools in the palm of your hand and you can talk to AI. And there's a lot of great stuff there that you can learn. You can ask it questions about your business, about man management, about people, about a conflict that you're having, and get tons of advice as to different. So use and embrace the technology around you, but invest in yourself, definitely.
yeah,
Nothing, I always say it ain't gonna happen by accident, you know?
yeah. I love that. You've said that several times, and I agree that an excellent work culture is intentional.
Yes.
It's intentionally curated because everything is falling apart. That's just the
Yeah.
nature of the physical universe.
Yeah.
And things deteriorate if you don't do something else. So, what is that something else? And I think with small business owners, this, being, you know, all of the stuff, everything's on fire, all the things you have to
Yeah.
do. But if you don't spend that time and figure out the people part of it, you will waste money.
Totally
You're going to
agree.
burn money if you don't know how to really
Mm.
manage and feed into and speak into the people that are working for you.
Yeah, and one of the most expensive things that costs so much is having to rehire.
Yes.
You have to retain your people. You're
Yeah.
probably good at hiring people, and if the people leave, you got to look at yourself. They're not all
Yeah.
bad people. That's not why they're leaving, you know? So I think that's very important to understand as well. I would also say that, again, embracing technology is really crucial. Like, what processes and systems do you have in place for your employees? If you're a small business, and you're sick and tired of getting stood up when you go on location, and there's no recovering that time that's spent. Are you asking them to, like, are they calling to confirm every day? Are they doing that as like a side job? Or did you put in place some kind of a CRM that has automatic text reminders that you can improve efficiency? So I think that, you know, making somebody's job easier and putting their resources against things that they like to do and letting other things that are more nominal, menial, annoying tasks, if you will, finding technology that can handle that part and really allowing the employee to flourish and work on more creative activities and things that can help move the business forward. That's important too. So it is on our small business owners to implement some kind of a structure, technology system to remove the mundane tasks and make the experience of the employee not only better for them, but where you get more. You don't get much if somebody's calling to confirm an appointment. But if that person is working on developing language for the next marketing pamphlet, that has a real return. So I think that looking at how to embrace technology for the employee experience as well is important.
Absolutely. So, as you have developed as a leader, can you tell us about a mentor that you have had and what they specifically did that spoke to you and helped you develop?
Yeah, so it would probably be my boss, Joe Walsh, right? So it's pretty cool to be able to say that I still work with that mentor who's developing me every single day, teaching me, coaching me, telling me when I do things wrong, but also catching me doing things right and celebrating that as well. And look, I think you need to find somebody that you want to emulate, that you aspire to have many of the traits that make them wonderful. And I'm lucky enough to have that on a daily basis and have somebody who's accessible and always has been. I mean, long before I was president, and sort of reported directly to him, but whether I was chief customer officer or when I first came over to Thryv and he had just gotten here a little bit before me, he asked me to come over. I came over as just the head of training and then went on to the head of recruiting and then the head of client success. But that whole time, even though there were many levels between us, he was always accessible and willing to allow me to ask for help in solving a problem or just laying out what a problem is and him challenging me instead of just giving me the answer. I think
Mm.
that's really important too, challenging me to think about it and to come back to him with solutions and then he'll help, right? So I have a fantastic mentor, that's that's helped me get to where I am. And there have been many others along the way, many others. And I also, in addition to having like a main mentor, I love to think that I learn so much from the people on the front lines.
Mhm.
I think what you'll find with myself or Joe, my boss, is we stay close to customers and employees big time. We over communicate. We err on the side of over because people leave you and people cancel in your absence.
Mhm.
That's what happens. They don't feel cared for. They
Mhm.
don't understand something and they assume the worst. So I think we have to be really cognizant of being present and being accessible, and never being absent
Mm.
from the lives, the hearts, the minds of our employees or our customers either. So
Mm.
staying close is really important.
I love that because a lot of times when we think about communication, it's this one way. I said it, I sent out this, and so you got it, and now it's done. It
Yeah.
doesn't work that way at all.
No.
It's this constant because we're humans,
Yes.
we're messy, things happen. And I got this message, but that was a while ago. And so the constant message that is in front of us, that's the one that we're paying attention to, that's constantly reinforced, especially if it's I'm cared for,
That's right.
because life is hard. We're going to have disagreements. These things just happen. There's going to be change. I mean, change is the name of the game. Things are,
Yeah.
especially in the work, the field that you work in, things are always constantly changing.
Sure.
And that's just, and so it can be stressful. Obviously, this is adult life. So we need these reminders of yes, and we
Right.
want you here.
It's many layers to get a
Hmm.
message across, right? And even if you think about it from, like my world of like market, sell, grow, and helping small businesses grow, small businesses have to communicate with their customers. See, this is one of the biggest things that stunts the growth of a small business is they believe because I served them once and did a good job, they'll just always use me. But people don't, they don't, it's no, it's not. You got to stay top of mind. You got to offer value even post-sale, post-completion of the job. You need to communicate with your customers ongoing because you want their referrals and you want to serve them a second and third time. And they will leave in your absence. So automation tools, email marketing tools, text marketing tools, newsletters, things that foster communication, a good CRM where you keep accurate notes on everything you've done for somebody and what they liked and what they might want next time. It's so important. Otherwise, you're just a hamster spinning the wheel because you get a new customer, but one's just left and you don't make progress. It's about locking down that customer base and making them feel important and communicating with them ongoing so they would never think about choosing a different plumber or, choosing a different dentist, whatever it may be. And I think that's where we fall down. So both internally in the workplace and as you serve your customers, ongoing effective communication is critical.
Mm. I love all of that. But as you were talking, I was just thinking about human nature, right? And
Yep.
insofar as we don't think about what's true about humans, right? Sometimes we idealize them or we villainize them. And if we
Right.
have a workplace that's either one, it's not fit for humans because we're not saints and angels and we're not demons, right?
That's
We're
right.
these messy people that mostly show up and want to do good work, have bad days,
That's right.
have lapses of judgment. And it's the same thing with customers too. So if we're not really thinking about what is the case rather than what we want to be the case or what we think should be the case, then we're
That's
going to
right.
be solving problems and making systems for phantoms, right?
That's right.
And so really, I just love this idea of, really thinking about the the employee experience
Yep.
and hand in hand with the customer experience. Um, and then, I mean, that's how you build a
Yeah.
thriving culture.
Hey, happy employees make happy customers.
Right.
You've called somewhere for customer service before, and you could tell somebody was having a bad day, and it just
Yeah.
puts you off, and it's like a terrible experience.
Yeah.
And you've called places. I was on a call with Delta changing a flight just last week, and the person was so happy. And so like you could just tell that they like what they do and they love to serve, and it was a great experience. So yes, the two go hand in hand. You cannot treat employees poorly and have them treat your customers well. It just doesn't work. Doesn't
Right.
work.
Right.
No? So it's worth investing the time, whether you're a small business or an enterprise level business, time in your people so that they want to do a good job for you. That's the other thing. I genuinely want to do a good job for my boss and for all of my employees because I truly care about them. I mean that. Like we have a lot of fun. We have hard days, so we try to laugh, inject humor, because you spend a lot of time doing whatever you're doing. So I think that we genuinely want to win for each other, and that's a big cultural thing as well that I think you really want to try to build because one of the things about any team, right, is you'll let yourself down before you let the team down. And that's really important to foster a team type environment at work because people will let themselves down before they let a teammate down. It's an amazing thing. And that's something also that we've learned over the years.
Hmm. So I imagine a lot of people listening to this think, well, wouldn't it be nice? Because that's not my experience. My experience is, this colleague is doing this to me, or this boss, or this system is not working. And some people just for whatever reason can't leave. They for whatever reason at this
Yeah,
time they can't leave their organization. What kind of advice do you have for them when they find themselves in a tough environment that is maybe not toxic and maybe it is, but it's really not empowering?
I would try different ways of communicating your point until somebody listens and takes action. If you've tried it your way once, don't give up. A lot of this is about, like we spoke about earlier, Mary, like just understanding and empathizing with somebody else. So you have to understand their position. You do have to ask, why do you feel the way that you do, right? But I think that it all starts with empathy. Even if you're in a not so great situation, you can still find a way to empathize with that person. You need to think, what is good about this situation? What is good about this person? And you can't let your mind go to the 99 other things that you don't like because it's not going to help you. You have to find
Right.
a way to communicate with this person, which means understanding their interests, their likes, empathizing with why they might feel the way they do and why they might be treating you that way, and reframe your messaging and be crystal clear, right? And it's okay to ask for things, even if you get told no, and then to, reframe the message and go back and try again. So I think I would say, don't give up. Don't give up. Sometimes things just take time, and don't stop communicating.
Mm.
Keep communicating. And if you've been doing it via email, like we said before, schedule a call. You know what I mean? Get on a Zoom or schedule time in person with somebody, even better, to have a cup of coffee. That human to human contact versus digital stuff is so important. So I hope that helps people. Don't give up. It's not a dead end. It's just a not yet. You haven't been able to do it yet.
I love that advice because so many times I have people in my office and say, but Mary, I tried. And I
Yeah,
believe them. Of course you've tried.
totally.
Okay, but this is a problem to be worked on. So let's de-escalate ourselves emotionally and start writing it down. Okay, what did you do? Okay, that didn't work. And what do you mean it didn't work?
That's
Okay,
right.
this is the response. Okay, what are the other kinds of ways you could try? Okay,
Yep.
so it's a puzzle. Let's solve this puzzle. Let's look at it from a different way. And if you think, well, there's nothing good about it, well, maybe what's good is that's paying your mortgage. Okay, now we got
That's right.
something good.
Find something.
So,
That's right. Yep. Yeah, and it's funny, not to sound, trite, but one of the things that I say to myself a lot is, so what now what?
hmm,
Right? So it didn't work this time, now what?
yeah,
Not it shouldn't be I tried, I'm done.
yeah,
That's silly. We're all better than that. It might be done for that day. I get it. You might, take a breath, but
right.
you got to just keep reworking the problem because what lies on the other end when you
Hmm,
do get your
yeah.
point across and you do affect change, oh my goodness, the self rewards, it's going to be amazing. It's so worth all the struggle to get there and all the effort to get there as well.
Yeah,
So don't lose sight of what's on the other side and why you're fighting this battle or what you're trying to change. And I think you can make a big difference.
absolutely. And I think sometimes we don't do it because we don't know if that there's the unknown. But
Yep.
the fact of the matter is, if you're in pain, notice the pain you're in,
Yes.
So, all right, so let's try something else to move forward, right? The
Yep.
only way through is through. You've got to move through it. And one, two, three, most things,
Yep.
you know, aren't like that. You pick up the violin and you don't think, well, I tried that once and it didn't sound right.
That's right. That's exactly right. You need to
Yeah.
work at it like anything else. Is a great example.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So my last question for you is when you think about the world of work, what do you think needs to happen so that all people are treated not only with dignity and respect, but are encouraged to thrive and flourish?
I think we have to seek to understand each other, and I think we have to listen to each other. And I know it's getting boring at this point, but empathy is the most powerful word. The second one is perspective.
Mm,
I think that one of the things that we have to understand as humans as well, a mentor once told me, not my boss, another one, Jim, his name is, um, if you took all of your problems and all of your friends, your five best friends sat around the table, and everybody pushed their problems to the center of the table, and you could take anybody else's problems, you'd probably take your own back.
mm,
And that's perspective. And that's important to understand that everybody's going through stuff. Many people are going through stuff worse than you. So
mm.
if you're having problem communicating or you're experiencing conflict, try to empathize, try to seek to understand why, and have these sort of face to face, if you will, communications, and you can get past it. I think if we do that, everybody can flourish in a work environment.
I love that empathy and perspective, right? Those
Yes.
those things go together so well.
Yes,
Well,
they do.
Grant, thank you so much for your
Mm.
time. It's been just a joy talking with you today.
Thank you. You as well. This has been fantastic. I hope you'll have me back sometime.
Absolutely. Well, take care. Grant, our conversation was just really music to my ears. I'm so interested in healthy work environments, and I'm sure you wouldn't paint your organization as all sunshine and roses because every work is hard and everything has its challenge, it has its challenges. That being as it is, how do we treat each other? And so having those systems in place and being for each other and seeing that we are people first and employees somewhere down the line is so very important. And so, dear listener, if this is not your lot right now, if you feel that you are maybe even in a hostile environment, I encourage you to step back and to reflect and to try again. What is the next thing? What is the perspective? What is the good? What do you want to do? Because there are quite a few things that you can do. And one thing you can do is to decide how you're going to show up and how you're going to think about what's going on at work. So I wish all good things for you. And thank you, Grant, for what you're doing in your organization. Conflict Managed is produced by Third Party Workplace Conflict Restoration Services and hosted by me, Mary Brown. You can find us online at 3pconflictrestoration.com. come back. We have new episodes every Tuesday. And if you would please like and subscribe wherever you listen or watch, you can find us on YouTube at 3P Conflict Restoration. Our music is courtesy of Dove Pilot. And if you haven't had a chance to check out my latest book, How to Be Unprofessional at Work, it's 80 tips of what not to do and starts a conversation about what to do instead. And my next book, which will be out in a few months, which is called Winning the Generation Wars at Work, Making Your Age an Asset. It should be coming out real soon, so I'm excited to give you that date in the next coming episodes. And remember, conflict is normal and expected. Let's deal with it. Until next time, take care.